Today's video is brought to you by Squarespace.
All right, today is probably my final photo shoot with the Nikon Z9 because I'm selling it. There's a lot to like about it. And I'll explain to you later in the second part of this video, like why I'm selling it. I have a lot of footage, a lot of things to show you, and almost like a final review of the camera. But first, I'm gonna do a beauty shoot with the Z9, 8518 Viltrox, Amazon. Oh, you're better than that? eBay? Etsy?
Then what are you asking me about?
Okay, the stuff that you put on your collarbone and stuff, what is that?
This was Michael's.
Michael's.
And this is Michael.
Who's Michael? Let me find out.
Okay, fine.
You know what? This is a bad idea. All right, so we got the Manny Ortiz Beauty Dish, and I'm using a silver interior because I want the light to be more specular for this. The way I retouch, it takes away some of the shine. So instead of re-adding it in, I'm gonna just shoot with more specularity. Westcott highlighter, and this thing is, honestly, it's like a secret weapon. Really nice curved catch light in the eye, and it evens out the light really nicely on the face.
One question that I always get in my videos is what paper backdrops do I use? I only use Savage. They come in a ton of different colors, sizes, and the one that I'm using in this video is called Coral.
So now after having Diana closer to the background, you can get almost a completely different look just by moving her away from the background, because less light is gonna be hitting it, so it's gonna be a little bit more dark and moody. So let's maybe like 4 feet this way. Right there, push it, yeah, push it. There we go. Yeah, maybe like 4 or 5 feet away from the background. So now what's gonna happen is the background's gonna be a lot darker. And actually I might turn on that backlight for this one. 2, 3, I don't gotta change my settings or anything, because the light is pretty much the same. Oh, back up, just off the back up. Yeah, right there, right there. Well, yeah, 1, 2, 3. See, notice how the background now is a little bit more, it's more dark. Beautiful. Like this, rotate it, like that. Yeah, now look at me straight on. More straight on, like that. Let me see.
The nice thing about my beauty dish is that you can shoot full body or you can shoot close-up beauty portraits like this. It comes in both silver and white. Before I get into my user review, I want to send a shout out to my sponsor, Squarespace. If you have been looking to start a website, blog, or an online store, don't sleep on Squarespace. Every entrepreneur needs to have a website nowadays. Not only is your work gonna look of higher quality than on your social media, but your social, that's not yours. Squarespace is so easy to use. You don't need any coding or graphic design skills. You have 24/7 customer support. You ever get bored of the look of your website? You can preview and change the entire template with a click of a button. Got a side hustle? Want to sell some products? You can start an online store like I did, where I sell my Lightroom presets and retouching tutorial. If you use the code Manny, you're gonna get 10% off your first purchase. So no more waiting. Just go ahead and click down there in the description box, all right? So this is the final Z9 review before parting ways to this bad boy. I am gonna give you an opportunity if you wanna buy it from me. It's pretty mint. I'll leave all the info at the end with some, detailed video and stuff like that of the body. Okay, before I start this video, I am gonna be comparing the Z9 to the Sony and the Canon, the R3, the A1. I shoot Fuji as well. I am a shooter of all brands. I appreciate cameras, tech, but I'm in a very unique position where I get to compare these cameras side by side. It's one thing picking up your friend's camera and like, oh my God, it wasn't that good. This camera is the best. There's no substance in that. Declaring that your camera is the best if you don't have a direct comparison. I've been humbled in the past where I felt like one camera would perform better than the other camera in a certain scenario, and it actually turned out to be the opposite. So every scenario, every specific scenario is different, and certain cameras just behave differently for everything. The only way you can declare a camera better than another in, let's say, in a certain area is by actually comparing them in the same scenario. That's just how it is. Again, I've learned the hard way. So I am gonna be approaching this very, very fair. This is like my experience using all three with no bias, just straight objectivity. All right, let's start with image quality. This is where the Z9 really shines. I think that the quality of the file coming out of the Z9, I would actually put it in first place or tied at first place with the Canon. That's very subjective. For my taste, I think that the Z9 produces extremely pleasing natural skin tones, as well as the Canon. Sony, this is where the Sony's weakest in my opinion. You also have to keep in mind that every scenario is different. There are certain scenarios where I'll shoot these cameras side by side and you won't barely see a difference. And then there's certain scenarios where now you start to see a difference in the color science. So it's very, very situational based, but consistently, I've always really liked the Z9 files the most. Yeah, I think that's fair to say. Now with autofocus, this is when it gets kind of interesting. So I have been able to shoot, this year I started shooting professional baseball, and I was able to shoot all 3 cameras in the same positions. So one thing I learned is that the R3 is the best, in my opinion, the best autofocusing, has the best autofocusing system out of any camera right now. The A1 is second, Z9 would be third out of the flagships. That's not saying that the Sony or the Nikon are bad. They're like, think about it like supercars. These are 3 supercars, right? 700 plus horsepower. Does that mean that the 1,000 horsepower car, does that make the 700 like super inferior? No, it's still faster than almost anything else on the street. The thing is with the Z9 is that yes, I had a good hit rate, but there are moments and times where it did not perform the way that the Canon and Sony would. Like pulsing in and out, missing focus, and I used all the different modes. I mean, I tried everything, and I didn't have as much success with the Z9. It's like those split-second moments, it would not grab focus, or the runner's coming around the base, and it would pulse in and out as he's running to third. It's very weird. I also did the air and water show with the Z9. And this one, I can't speak on like, oh, I think the Canon or the Sony would have done better because I didn't have them at the time. I can't make that assumption. Because again, I've been humbled by this before. There isn't a lot of contrast in the sky. You know, the planes are coming in and out of the clouds. But then when it started to clear up, you know, there was a lot more contrast in the sky. And I feel like the Z9 should have performed better. I feel like there was plenty of contrast with the planes and the smoke, that it was pulsing, and I was becoming frustrated because I wasn't used to struggling and fighting with the focusing system to grab focus, you know? From that point on, that's when I kind of put the Z9 back in my office, and I didn't really use it much because that kind of turned me off a little bit. Anyways, autofocusing, it's a supercar. It's better than almost any other camera out there, but it is still not up to the Canon and Sony standards, in my opinion, in my testing, the way I used the camera. Okay, ergonomics of the Z9. So this one is very subjective as well, but there is something so sexy about the lines of this camera and the way it feels in a hand. The way it feels and the way looking down on this camera, it just looks like a beautiful piece of machinery. The way your hand kind of falls off right here off the grip and grabbing onto the lens, it just feels so good. It's hard to explain. And with the weight, it makes you feel like you have like the holy grail camera. It's so snappy. I love the way it sounds. I love the rear screen quality. It's not enough to kind of win me over in a sense and kind of just ignore all the other things that I've noticed about the camera. But the ergonomics are, this is the kind of camera that you just fall in love with. You know, you just sit on the couch and you just kind of hold your camera for no reason on the couch. You know, just kind of hold it and look at it and just appreciate it. It's a thing of beauty. It really is. So they definitely kick some butt with the ergos on this thing, for sure. Okay, so now the lenses that are available for the Nikon Z. I'm happy that more third-party manufacturers are jumping on board, making more lenses for this camera. I think they are. That's what I feel like I heard. The only thing is that, again, I've said this before, the lenses are not very inspiring to me. Like, the way they look. And I remember someone commented on my Nikon Z video saying that, oh, why do you care about how they look? It's a tool and they're great. And you know what? That's totally fair. Like, if you feel like that, that's fine. But to a lot of people, the way the gear looks matters. And if you don't care about that, that's fine. But I think that I speak for a lot of people that the way gear looks It matters. The tube, the black tube design is not very inspiring. And for having such a large mount and for bragging about the large mount, again, I wish they had more faster lenses, right? f1.4s. I thought with that was a Z9, I thought, man, they were gonna come out blazing with the f1.2s, the 85-1.2s, 35-1.4, 1.2, whatever. Now let's talk about video. So this one is actually interesting because I feel like the video coming out of this is somehow like sharper than Canon and Sony straight out of the camera, like standard profile. I don't know what they're doing, but the video is actually phenomenal coming out of this camera. But the Z9 doesn't get a lot of recognition for video. It's interesting. Is it a marketing thing with Nikon where the Z9 wasn't like recognized for all the video features on this thing? Because this thing is fully loaded. They're not competing with any kind of cinema line. I don't know. The video quality is absolutely beautiful. The only issue with the video, at least for me, is that because I am a content creator, I like to have an ecosystem, a little ecosystem of cameras, right? There is no camera that they have that I can reliably like get the full frame look, but also have the flip screen. Yes, for behind the camera, I could see people are really sleeping on the video capabilities of this camera for sure. But as a content creator, specifically, I'm not really motivated to shoot video with this camera because let's say I had a videographer, hey, use this camera. He's probably gonna like, what the hell? Because most people don't shoot Nikon for video nowadays. They get lost there. Yeah, so again, just great video camera, amazing specs, but I feel like there's a disconnect there. I feel like they need to connect with the cinema line and have more. They have all the great lenses for video. They're all optimized for not having, focus breathing, but they're not releasing cameras that are more video focused, right? So that you could have an ecosystem. I don't know. Okay, so this last one is not going to resonate with a lot of people because it's not meant to be. This is meant more for like the content creator type like myself that care about this stuff, okay? There isn't a lot of hype around the Nikon brand. I feel like Nikon missed an opportunity. When the Z9 came out with, crushing everything, and it still crushes everything in terms of specs, right? They missed the opportunity. I felt like this was gonna be their blow up. They were gonna come out with the 85-1.2s, and they're gonna come out guns blazing, and there was gonna be all this hype, and Nikon was coming out hard, and I was like, I'm here for it. Like, I am a fan of all of this. I love this stuff, but they've only just come out with firmware updates and the Z30, like little things here and there. And there just isn't a lot of hype around Nikon launches or Nikon releases. This matters to people that are in tune with the industry, that just don't look at it as a tool, but also, are excited about products, excited about new products, excited for technology. There isn't a lot of hype around Nikon. And it's hard sometimes to kind of, again, I don't know. I guess they were more pedal to the metal with creating interesting lenses, products, cameras. I don't know. Even though the Z9 is such a good portrait camera, and the fact that I can record the HDMI, has dirty HDMI out, I can record it. One of the huge benefits of being a content creator as well. The reason why I don't use it for portraits anymore is because I find that when I keep switching cameras, it affects my creativity. There's definitely something to like understanding and knowing a camera where the buttons are when you need to switch something. There's something to that. There's power in that, And when I keep switching cameras, I keep messing up my creative workflow. So I decided, if the Z9 is not going to be my option for sports, or for anything on location, because then I got a smaller option in the Sony A1. I don't have to carry this big boy. Why use it in the studio then and keep confusing myself? So I just sticking to Sony and Canon right now for portraits and sports. And the thing is that I do want to shoot Nikon. I used to shoot Nikon back in the day. D600 was my baby. The files were just so much superior than the Fighting Mark II that I owned before it. But I remember I had the oil spots. That's when they kind of lost my loyalty. But I've always liked the output of Nikons. I do want to own another one, but I know you might agree with me on this one. It's kind of blasphemous to have a camera, a $5,500 flagship monster, just collecting dust in on my shelf when I could sell it and pick up other gear that I want or need for my production. So I'm gonna part ways with this one. I think I'm gonna keep the lenses. I know I'm gonna keep the 2875 for sure. I love that lens because I do want to own another Nikon in the future, just something not this heavy duty, not a flagship, maybe the Z8 or something that comes out that's a little more compact, that makes more sense for me to own. Because why own a flagship if I'm not gonna use it for, I'm only gonna use like 10% of its capability, you know, in the studio. So I took the Z9 home last night, took a really good look at it to see, you know, if there were any scratches or scuffs on the body. This thing looks brand spanking new, okay? The only thing, it looks like a speck of dust by the grip here. It looks like a little speck of dust, but and that might be from like a tripod mount. You know, that's inevitable. It looked like a dust spot, but that's really the only thing. The camera looks and feels brand spanking new. I had it since January, February, and I haven't used it in a while. So I went on eBay to look at the used market, see what's out there. There's really nothing, you know, but stores do have brand new ones right now for $5,500, like what I paid for it, plus taxes. That's about $6,000, okay? I'm gonna sell my Z9 in perfect condition, and it's my personal Z9, so it's like, you know, I'm gonna let it go for $5,300. $5,300, considering that you save the $700 in from the retail price and taxes. That's $700 that you're saving. You're getting almost a camera that looks brand new, my personal Z9. And that $700 you could put toward a lens. You could put toward a 50, 85-1.8. You could put toward the Viltrox, which is $400, 85-1.8, and something else. Yeah, you have options. And I think that's a pretty fair deal. Again, it's saving $700. If you are interested, send me an email, info@manyortizphoto.com. $700 is a pretty big chunk of savings, if you ask me. And I know that this camera has been treated well, and it is, again, it feels and looks brand new. Comes in a box with everything that it normally comes with. I'm gonna keep it on sale for maybe about a couple weeks. If no one picks it up from YouTube, I'll just probably throw it on eBay. Oh my God, I hate selling on eBay, but I am gonna keep the Viltrox 85-1.8 because, again, I looked at the images and I'm like, whoa, these images are really nice. At least if I buy another Nikon camera in the future that possibly has a flip screen, that maybe it'll be of more use for me to, you know, also shoot video with it, do some photos with it. This one right here, I just don't have much use for a camera like this, and it has no business being on a shelf not being used. If you are interested in buying this camera, again, send me an email. I'll leave it down below. Please don't waste my time. You know, I already have a hard time answering emails as it is. Other than that, that's all I have for this video. I will talk to you guys later.